I've worked night shifts most of my life, and the darkness never really bothered me. If anything, it became a sort of comfort, quiet, still predictable. After my wife Linda passed away 3 years ago, the nights felt even quieter, too quiet sometimes. But my old retriever Max helped keep me grounded. Without him, I don't think I'd still be living out here, miles away from anyone. My house sits on the edge of a thick patch of woods. It's the kind of place where you can stand on your porch at night and hear absolutely nothing. No cars, no voices, no distant hum of the city, just the cold night air and whatever the forest feels like whispering. It was early December when everything changed. I had just finished a late shift and took Max out for one of our usual loops around the property. The air was sharp and the ground was crusted with frost. Max trotted ahead, sniffing at the bushes like he always did. But halfway through the walk, he stopped, completely frozen. His ears pitched forward, his tail low, and this low, rumbling growl started in his chest. I'd heard him bark at raccoons and deer before, but this wasn't that. This was the kind of growl a dog makes when it sees something it doesn't understand. That's when I heard it. A whistle, slow, rising, falling, like someone signaling. I spun toward the tree line, squinting into the darkness. At first, I thought it might be the wind, but the whistle came again, clearer, closer. This wasn't random. Someone was out there. My first instinct was anger. Who would be on my property at this hour? Whoever it was. They picked the wrong man to mess with. But when I took a few steps toward the noise, Max backed up and whined, tugging at my sleeve. That's what made me hesitate. Max never acted like that. I decided to head inside. I told myself it had to be some night hiker, or maybe a stray camper. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. I couldn't sleep that night. Every little creak the house made felt sharper, heavier. Around 2 a.m., I must have dozed off because the next thing I knew, Max was barking like someone had broken in. I shot upright. The barking wasn't random. It was directed at something. Then I heard it. Knocking at the back door. Slow, spaced out knocks. Not frantic or desperate. Almost polite. But there's something terrifying about someone knocking at your house in the middle of nowhere in dead silence at 2 in the morning. Holding my breath, I made my way into the kitchen. Max stood between me and the door, his fur standing on end, his body shaking. I peeked through the side window. No one. I unlocked the door and pulled it open, shining my flashlight outside. Nothing but cold air and darkness. But the door had been locked. I know it had. I double-checked that lock every night. So who knocked? I barely slept for the rest of the night. The next evening, I installed an old security camera I'd had sitting in a drawer. I mounted it on the back porch, aiming it toward the tree line. I didn't really expect to see anything, but it made me feel better. Around 1 a.m., lying in bed half awake, I heard my phone buzz. Motion detected. Back porch. My stomach dropped. I grabbed the phone and opened the live feed. Someone was standing at the edge of the forest. A man, tall, thin, wearing a long hooded coat. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was staring at my house, right toward my bedroom window. I froze, completely paralyzed. Suddenly, his head turned slowly toward the camera, like he realized I was watching him. I bolted outside with Max barking behind me. The cold hit my face like ice, but adrenaline drowned it out. There was no one, not a single footprint in the frost. I checked the camera. The notification was there, the figure clearly visible. The moment the light from my porch turned on, he vanished. The police didn't help much. They looked around, saw nothing, and told me to keep the camera running, as if I was going to turn it off. 3 days passed. No knocks, no camera alerts, just silent tension thick enough to choke on. Then one night around 11 p.m., I sat in my living room watching TV with Max lying at my feet. It came again, that whistle, but this time, it wasn't coming from the woods. It was coming from the side of the house, right beneath the living room window. Max leapt to his feet, teeth bared, growling with a fury I had never seen in him. I stepped back from the window, heart pounding, too terrified to even look outside. The whistle continued, soft, mocking, patient. I grabbed my rifle from the hallway. By the time I flung the door open and ran outside, the whistle stopped. I scanned the yard. Nothing, just the wind. I felt eyes on me the entire time, like someone had been so close, close enough to touch the wall, before slipping away into the night. A week later, exhaustion finally caught up to me. I collapsed into bed and drifted into a dreamless sleep. Somewhere in the middle of the night, Max woke me by pawing at my arm. When I sat up, confused, he backed up and looked toward the window behind me. I turned. There was a silhouette standing outside. Not moving, not shifting, just standing. A tall figure with a hooded hooded coat, the same outline I'd seen on the camera feed. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't see the face, just the shape, but the fear that hit me was primal, pure instinct. I scrambled out of bed, but by the time I reached the front door, he was gone. No footprints, no noise, no trace, like he was never there. 2 nights later, it escalated. I was in the living room, trying to stay awake, when the motion alert pinged again. This time the figure wasn't standing at the tree line. He was on my porch, right in front of the camera, so close his hood covered the lens, just standing there, not moving. My heart felt like it was going to explode out of my chest. I grabbed my rifle and ran outside with Max, but as soon as I stepped onto the porch, he was already halfway across the yard, running with unnatural speed toward the woods. I fired 2 warning shots. He didn't stop. He didn't turn. He just melted into the trees like he belonged there. I searched the woods for an hour with Max. Found nothing. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, no whistles, no knocks, no camera alerts, but I know he's still out there. Sometimes late at night, Max will stare at the tree line with his ears up. Sometimes I'll wake up feeling like someone was just standing outside my window. And sometimes, if the wind is just right, I swear I hear that same slow, taunting whistle drifting through the trees. If anything else happens, I'll send an update.